everybody. Excuse me, Jafar. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Brooklyn Knitfolk podcast. My name is Jaclyn. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as at Jaclyn Salem. It has been a while, and I'll get to kind of some of the reasoning why at the end so I don't bore everyone in the beginning, but I just want to say thank you so much for your patience as I kind of work my way back up to feeling well enough to do a podcast episode again. And thank you so much for all of your support and comments on Instagram for my projects and things I've been working on in the meantime. I have been crafting a lot, so I do feel like I have a lot to share with you today, although I can't remember quite exactly where I left off on the podcast episode before this one. So rather than feel pressure to just show you everything, I'll just show you a few of the things that I finished and some of the things I'm working on right now. A couple of announcements. I want to say that the Brooklyn Hipster Cal the BK Hipster Cal is over, and thank you so much to everybody who entered your projects. I did close the thread on the day that I said I was going to. However, I have not drawn for prizes yet, and I do feel like it's a shamefully long time since I've done that. It's just been so busy, and I'm kind of clawing my way out of being overwhelmed quite a bit with, just life stuff in general, nothing to do with the podcast or anything like that. Just that I've been really, really busy, which is not a good excuse. We're all busy, I know that, but I will try to get those prizes drawn and awarded and sent out to you. So stay tuned for that. That will happen soon. The other thing I want to announce is that I am definitely participating in Vlogmas again this year. I know so many of you were so excited by the Vlogmas I did last year. That's how a lot of you even found me in the first place, quite honestly. So I am so thrilled and excited to do Vlogmas again this year. I have been really just making a list of all the places I want to take you to. If you don't already know, by the way, Vlogmas is where I do a daily vlog of my life every day from December 1st through Christmas Day. So you get to see a lot of amazing New York footage and just a snapshot of more of my day-to-day life. I don't generally talk about personal things on the podcast. I just kind of share my projects and what I'm working on with bits of inspiration here and there for you, but you do get a kind of more of a glimpse into my daily life, and so many of you loved it, so I definitely had to do it again this year. So I'm very excited about that, and I think those are the only announcements that I have to make. So for that, we'll just jump right into the episode and start with finished objects. And I have a couple that I want to show you. I'm sure that I finished socks, at least probably 2 pairs since the last time I showed you, but I can't remember what socks I was working on at the time. I really have no idea. So technically that means I have 3 finished objects because I do have a sock pattern that of course I will show you. But anyway, so we'll start with a shawl, and the ends are not woven in yet, but it has been blocked. Although shoddily so, I must say I'm thinking about re-blocking it because it's kind of crinkly from just sitting on my desk. But this is the Sprites Fen shawl, which is a design by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And it was from her Shawl Society 2 collection. Yeah, you can see all the wrinkles in this, so I really do need to reblock this. But it was from her Shawl Society 2 collection. I absolutely fell in love with this design, and so I just had to knit it. So she sent it to me after I complimented her on it when she visited New York and how I said how much I love the pattern, and she sent it to me and I cast it on that same day. The yarn, which so many of you have been so curious about or asking me about it on Instagram, I got it on sale at Do You Knit, which is a yarn shop in New Jersey, and the yarn is Fiber Story, and this is the Fiber Story 1 Silky base in the Dusty Plum colorway. And the color is so interesting because depending on the light, it can look purple, brown, or gray. It's really cool. It's difficult to photograph, but it's a really neat color. And this is the shawl. It's slightly shorter than my wingspan. It's maybe exactly my wingspan, So it's a decent size and kind of alternates between garter and then like these kind of wavy fan flare stitches, and the border is this gorgeous lace. I really, really love it. I just love how this turned out. Put it on so you can see how it looks. It's a very, it's like a half pie shawl, so half circle. And so I love those shawls best styling wise for wearing. Let's see if I can stand up just a little bit to give you a better idea. I love shawls of this shape for styling. To me, they just look the most flattering. They stay on the best. Yeah, I really, really love it. I have to say, I haven't decided if I'm gonna keep it yet. One of my friends has really expressed interest in it. Her name is Callie. She's a coworker. She doesn't watch this, so there's no chance of her knowing this, but I'm thinking about giving it to her for Christmas. The only problem is I have 4 friends at work that I'm like really, really close with, and if I give one of them something, I feel like I kind of have to give all of them something. But this is just so Callie, so I feel like it belongs with her and that she would really appreciate it, but so would the other 3 girls, so I don't know if I'm gonna give it to Callie or not. Maybe if I do, I'll just give it to her on the sly, but if she wears it to work, everyone will know that I made it. There's no way. But yeah, Sprite's Fen shawl, these gorgeous eyelets that are in the design. Sorry, this end is getting in the way. These beautiful eyelets, I just love it. And I just think it wears so well. Like I said, I just love the shape of these kinds of shawls for wearing. Isn't that so pretty? Oh, I just love it. And the yarn was such a joy to knit with. Seriously, I would definitely buy yarn from this dyer again. Again, it's Fiber Story, and it's the singles base in the Dusty Plum colorway. Yeah, right, see right here it almost looks like gray-brown. You couldn't even really tell, but yeah, it is definitely kind of got a purplish hue to it. And my mom, bless her, you probably saw on Instagram, I don't have the actual yarn ball, or maybe I do. So my mom, every time I go home, she will always wind up the yarn I bring into a ball. So I always get hand wound balls from her because she really likes doing it for whatever reason. So I'll let her because I think it's such a treat to knit from a hand wound ball. And she surprised me with these little notes that she had written down on pieces of paper and tucked into the ball as she was winding it, like a little roses are red, violets are blue poem in it. And it was so fun. I didn't notice it until I got to the second one, and I was like, what is that paper peeking out of there? And then I realized I knew she had done it as soon as I saw it. And I had gotten to the second one and then looked in the bag, and sure enough, there was the first one. So I haven't gotten the full message yet because one of them is still tucked in here, but I'm going to eventually knit all of this into my granny stripe blanket, so it'll be the gift that keeps on giving. But so far I've gotten roses are red, violets are blue, you are awesome, and so I'm sure the last bit will probably be I love you. But isn't that so sweet? That would just be such a great thing to replicate for somebody else, like a knitter in your life that you love, if you hand wound a ball and tucked in messages into it along the way. I just think that's such a sweet idea. It's something so what my mom would do, and it was just amazing to have that little treat as I knit along with this shawl. Maybe I should give it to my mom. I don't know. But yeah, Sprite's Fen shawl, a Helen Stewart Curious Handmade design. The Curious Handmade patterns are everything and more that people say they are. The way that she writes her patterns, so clear and well written. I love kind of her patented method of giving you the percentage chart of each row, how much completion you are at. It's amazing. It really kind of spurs you on to get to that next row. The second finished object I will show you, these gorgeous colorwork mitts. This is my first ever colorwork project. I mentioned on an Instagram post that I was just kind of going through a rough time, and I really wanted something that was just like not mindless, kind of complicated, but a project that was already worked out for me. I didn't want to work on a design project, which is fun and challenging in a different way. I just wanted a puzzle, but the puzzle to kind of already be laid out for me, and I would just kind of go row by row, assessing the project as I went, and it was just really nice to work on something that really occupied my brain, but that I didn't have to figure out totally on my own, if that makes sense. These are the underwing mitts, and the designer, oh gosh, I hope I get this right, Erica Hauser? I'll put it on the bottom of the screen if I didn't get that right. And it's this gorgeous moth motif. I'll show this one. This gorgeous moth motif, and it has these moon phases along the bottom of the cuff, and then kind of this circular design on the palm. A feature that I really, really love is the side panel here. I don't know why, I just really love how that frames kind of this circular design. And then the thumb. Ugh, I love it so much. Here's the other one. For some reason, this one is brighter than this one is. I think the yarn, so the yarns, let me show you those real quick. Miss Babs in the lily pad colorway, which is the forest green. And then my contrast color is Skeiny Dipping, her singles base, and I can't remember the name of this colorway, I'm sorry. I used it in my exploration station. It is leftovers from that. The yarn from Miss Babs did bleed, not considerably, but a little bit. And for some reason it bled more on, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see the difference on camera, honestly. I can see it in person, although it's not crazy. It did bleed more on this one than it did on this one for some reason, and I don't know why. But it's okay, the difference is not crazy, and it kind of gives like this haunted effect to them. They're super, super witchy. I love them. I love this moon phase especially. I think it's so cool. Erica has, if that's her name, she has some really great color work designs. There's another mitten pattern called the Songbird mittens that she made that I really want to knit. But I knit these first because I love this design the best. It was one of my favorite. I saw Eva from The Charm of It. She had knit them for the BK Hipster Cal, and I fell in love with them immediately and knew that I would knit them someday. And so I cast them on one night, just picked out some yarn from my stash, and went for it. And oddly enough, I think like 2 or 3 people cast them on the same night that I did. We were all just feeling the underwing mitts. Technically, they're supposed to have, they're called the underwing mitts because the underwing moth or butterfly, or I think it's, I'm pretty sure it's a moth, has these details on the underwing of the mitts, and so you're supposed to duplicate stitch with a brighter color on top of it. And I have this really gorgeous chartreuse green that I was going to use, but I just really like them how they are. I know I could do it and then take it off if I didn't like it, but I really like them how they are. So that's them. Put them on for you. I will say, I knit them on a size 1. Oh, I need to trim that end a little bit more. I knit them on a size 1. They fit really snug, perfect for my hand. However, I have really small hands, and I don't say that to be like, oh, I have such small hands. I I never wear bracelets because they just fall right off, so, or watches or anything like that. So I will say, because this fits really snugly on me, just be aware of that if you have larger hands, or if you're knitting with somebody who has larger hands, these might be a little bit tight on you if you don't go up a needle size, or even maybe knit it in sport weight yarn. These are like really snug, not uncomfortably so, but if they were on a larger, more average sized hand, I think they might be too tight. And I will say the cuff is a little bit bigger on one of them, especially the first one. I went down a needle size. The needle size it calls for is a US 1 or a 2.25 millimeter. I did go down to a 2 millimeter or a US 0 for any ribbing that is on the pattern, because except for the very first right there, that's with the US 1 and that's with the 0. So it fits a little bit better with the 0 and lies a little bit more flat, as opposed to kind of, you know, coming off of sticking out a little bit more than I would like on the first one. But that's a small detail, and it's not a big deal. But yeah, I would recommend going down a needle size on any of the ribbing, and then up a needle or to the normal needle size, or up a needle size if you want to make them a little bit bigger for the body of the mitts. But yeah, I love them so much. I don't have a pair of mitts that I've knit for myself. I do have a pair that somebody else knit for me, and I wear them all the time, way more than I wear gloves, or no, I do wear some store-bought gloves, but way more than I wear them than any other thing, because I can still use my phone this way. Although I'm sure I could, you know, weave in some, what's it called? There's like some conductive thread. I can weave conductive thread into a mitten so that I could still use my phone with them on, but it's just easier for me to be able to use my fingers so I can use my phone outside. Oh, they're so cool. I love them so much. And green is just like the color right now for me. I love dark greens and chartreuse. It's just, yeah, green is one of my favorite colors. Which brings me to my next FO. Let me get it. Okay, my next FO is a new design that I finished. I have not published the pattern yet on Ravelry. The photos have been taken. I'm just right now in the process of writing up the pattern to publish on Ravelry. And this is them. It's a sock design. Kind of difficult to show on sock blockers because it's a centered design, but I'll show you right here. It's a centered design. It's very Art Deco inspired. Kind of has a fan and flare in the center, cables up either side of it, and then the back has this kind of striped detail with pearl stitches. And I used a contrasting toe on mine, just like the effect of the two different kinds of greens. I love this design so much. I'm so excited about it. It will come in 3 different sizes, a small, medium, and large, which I realized the Clark socks did not have, so I had a lot of people messaging me like saying, like, oh, can it be adapted for larger sizes? And it's kind of difficult to explain how to do it really, so I made sure that for my next design I could have multiple stitch counts so we could fit multiple people. And if you loved the Clark socks, you will love these, which I have named the Irving socks. I will talk more about that when I release the pattern, but they're called the Irving socks. And yeah, if you liked the Clark socks, you will love these for the same reason. It definitely has that must get to the next repeat, must get to the next repeat kind of effect to them. Not any more difficult or any more cabling than the Clark socks has. It's just that the cabling is on the front instead of on the front and on the back. So same amount, shorter row repeats even. I'm so in love with it, and I hope that you are too. Oh, I love it. Julie already came over. Julie, who is Sweet Sparrow Knits and has Sweet Sparrow Yarns. She does the photography for my patterns because she gets my vision. She knows exactly what I'm going for. Her photography skills are out of this world, and so she's gracious and kind enough to do my photography for me. So we did the pictures for these last weekend, and I am in love with them. In love. Cat hair. Yay! Oh, I love them so much. So those are the Irving socks, a new sock design that will be coming out soon. It's my aim to get them out on the first day of Vlogmas, kind of like as a Christmas present to you guys. So I'm trying to get the Irving socks out by December 1st. We will see if that happens though. So yeah, green obsessed, you guys. Green obsessed lately. And that's it for the finished objects for knitting that I'm going to show you. And then now we will move on into some knitting works in progress. What to show you first? What to show you first? Okay, we'll start with this one. So this is a new design project. I'll tell you a little bit about it. So Knitfolk did a call for design accessories maybe about a month or so ago, probably more than that now. I did submit, but it was not accepted, unfortunately, which is okay. It was a bummer, but you know, you just have to try. You have to try. Was I sad about it? Sure. But like, it doesn't mean I'm gonna stop designing things. It doesn't mean I'm gonna, you know, give up just because one person doesn't like one design that I did. And you never know the reasons why. It could be that it didn't fit in with their aesthetic. It, you know, could be anything, honestly. So I loved the design. I wanted to move forward with it. I submitted it to Wool, and she was gracious enough to provide yarn support for this design, and that's what I'm knitting. So this is Wool Wash worsted in the oyster mushroom colorway, and it's amazing. It's like a taupey blush, airing slightly into the blush territory, but it's kind of like more of a just kind of a taupe color. It's gorgeous. This yarn is so bouncy. It's so soft. And something I really love about Jaclyn's yarns, Jaclyn runs Wool, is that they are certified organic, not an easy feat for a yarn company, and it's just, yeah, it's really nice yarn and so affordable. I bought a sweater quantity at Rhinebeck, I think for $62. A sweater quantity for $62. That's an incredible deal for sweater quantities of yarn for an indie dyer. Or it's not exactly, I mean, she's not indie dyed in the way that like Sweet Sparrow Yarns is indie dyed. She has solid colors, but they are smaller batch than say something, you know, like a Patton's Croix. It's not anything like that, you know, it's not a commercially produced yarn. So this is the design so far. I haven't gotten very far on it, so I don't hesitate to really show you this much. As I knit more of it, I probably will kind of keep it under wraps until then, but under wraps is kind of a pun because it is a wrap design. So this is it so far. And the ribs kind of flow up as you go along. The edge is this beautiful little cable that I love. And that's all I'm going to show you for now because I haven't gotten to the rest of it yet. It's been a challenge for this, honestly. Things didn't work out exactly as I thought they were when I submitted the design, so I've kind of had to rework it. It's been fun, but it's been a brain puzzle for sure, and which I love about designing. I've had to rip it back several times, probably like 3 times now, so I finally got smart and started putting in a lifeline to the point where kind of the ribs start flowing in so that I wouldn't have to rip it back all the way. But yeah, I love this yarn. It's so soft. This is like, I mean, obviously I bought a sweater quantity of it when I was at Rhinebeck, so I can attest to how much I love it. But Julie of Sweet Sparrow Yarns, she recently finished a shawl, or was a wrap, I'm not really sure, out of wool yarn, and it's so luscious. It's just, yeah, it's amazing. And the colors, gosh, I can't believe I haven't even talked about the colors yet. The wool colors are one of those dyers that I don't necessarily like every single color. Like, for example, I don't really tend to gravitate toward yellow, brown. It just kind of depends, but I don't generally tend to gravitate towards those kinds of colors. But she's one of those dyers that every single shade of every color is a color that I like. So even within the yellow and the browns, it's like a particular shade of that color that I just really love. Her color sense is dead on. Every single color of hers that I like. Every single color she has, I like. They're like Quilting Company in that way. Like, I like every single shade of the Quilting Company colors. So that's that. I will report back on that eventually. And this is living in my favorite project bag of the moment. It's a Sweet Sparrow Yarns project bag. For some reason, I really just gravitate toward this bag. I love how the tab goes off of the edge so that when you open it, you can like get into every single bit of the bag and not have the zipper kind of blocking the entrance, which is a reason why I generally really like drawstring bags, because you can use like the mouth opening of the bag to its best ability. And it's a great size, perfect for like 2 skein projects, and I could even definitely fit 3 skein projects in here too. So, love this bag. All right, more knitting works in progress. Show you on my Hannah on the Road project bag, a sock. So this is Nomadic Yarns, in the Knitfolk colorway, which she dyed based on my color palette. I am obsessed, obviously, because it's like all of my favorite colors. And I just feel so honored that a dyer like Ashley, or is amazing, or anybody would dye a Knitfolk inspired colorway. That's just like bonkers. The ultimate like compliment. I can't get over it. So it's a self-striping yarn. Ashley of Nomadic Yarns, her self-striping is just incredible. Look at these colors. It's got like a cranberry red, kind of like a taupey brown, chartreuse, gray, kind of a mint sagey green. It's beautiful. Absolutely love it. And my stitch marker I got from Rhinebeck is this adorable mushroom. Look how cute this is. I saw this at Rhinebeck and I needed it immediately. It was my first purchase at Rhinebeck. And my progress keeper is the kind of multicolor sparkle gumdrop ball from Quilting Planet. Quilting Planet has the best progress keepers, in my opinion. The best. In fact, I get so many compliments on it. I love it so much. Where is it? I know it's in this bag. Yep. My pink puff skein is one from her. And I have another one of hers on a different project. But yeah, Quilting Planet Progress Keepers, my absolute favorite. She is a genius when it comes to thinking up different progress keepers. I love it. So yeah, just a pair of socks, nothing to write home about. 56 stitch cast on, 2x2 rib, vanilla sock, Fish Lips Kiss heel, which is my heel of choice, and it will have a rounded toe, which I'm literally about to start right now. And then I will cast on the second one. Here's the cake. Love it. The last project that I'm going to show you. Oh, I think it's only fitting that after the BK Hipster Cow, which started as my desire to not see so much fading in my feed, that of course I would cast on a stupid fade pattern. Don't judge me, okay? I'm already judging myself enough. But when I saw Stacy of Stress Knits Yarns at Rhinebeck this year, she had on the What the Fade mystery wrap, and I was so in love with that pattern that the temptation to not steal it off her body and take it home with me was so strong that I was like, okay, I just need to knit one myself and be done with it. So that's what I'm doing. And this is the beginning of my What the Fade. My What the F Jaclyn fade. It's so, I love the colors in this so much. All of the colors, with the exception of one, are Stress Knits yarn and Sweet Sparrow yarns, which is just amazing because it's like two of my best yarny friends in a project, which I love. So it starts off with the only skein in the group that is not a Sweet Sparrow Knits or Sweet Sparrow Yarns or Stress Knits Yarns colorway, and that is Primrose Yarn Company in Between the Lines, which then moves into why am I blanking? Sweet Stress Folk, which is a colorway that Stacy dyed to represent the three of us. It has mint for her, chartreuse for me, and blush for Julie. So those two, which flows into Sweet Sparrow Yarns, I believe, yes. Sweet Sparrow Yarns in the Mika and Jafar colorway, a custom colorway that she dyed just for me. Then into Stress Knits Yarn, Bell Jar. Then into Knitfolk by Stress Knits Yarn, a colorway that she dyed specifically for me. And then finally, Chelsea Morning by Sweet Sparrow Yarns. See if I can hold these up. Oh, one's gonna fall, one's gonna fall. Okay. Yeah, you get the idea. So after seeing Stacy's, I basically just wanted something that looked as close to hers as I possibly could make it, and that's what came out of this. So I'm about to start fading into the last fade section of the brioche. It's a wonderful pattern. It's so squishy and soft. I love the colors. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. I will say my favorite yarn for shawls is definitely singles base yarns, but I didn't have that, so I just went with the yarn that I had. And it's fine. There are mistakes in here for sure, like right there. You can see I did something weird right there. I don't care. This isn't about perfection. You're never going to notice it. Oh, the other Tilting Planet stitch marker. Will you get a look at this? It's like a Barbie shoe slipper or a glass slipper. It could be Cinderella inspired, who knows, but it's amazing. Her stitch markers, I'm telling you, they're the best. They're the best. I love how it's looking so far, and it's so soft. Oh, I can't wait to wear this. Cannot wait to wear this. Love it. So that's my What the Fade / What the F Jaclyn project. I'm judging myself, whatever, it's okay. And I just have it in a tote bag that says recycle or die on it because the yarn, there's just too much yarn to fit into a project bag, and a tote bag is fine. And that is it for the knitting whips that I'm going to show you today. I'm sure there are more things that I worked on in between, like I said, but I don't need to show you like every single thing, so you get the idea. So the next thing we're going to talk about is sewing / quilts, because if you follow me on Instagram, then you know I'm a crazy person, and I've decided that I'm going to make 4 quilts by Christmas. You heard me right, people. 4 quilts by Christmas. I purchased all of the fabric in October. I made promises to myself that I was going to cut out all 4 before I did any sewing because I absolutely hate cutting out. I hate cutting out fabric. Once I get to the sewing part, it's smooth sailing, it's fun, I love piecing it together, but I just hate cutting out quilts. I made it through 3 of the 4 before I said, no mas, I cannot cut anymore, I'll cut the last one later. And so I did that. I've sewn as much as I possibly can on 3 out of 4 of the tops that I can do before I need to start the quilting process for them. I'm going to be doing quilt as you go for the first time, which I'm really excited about. Thank you so much to Sally for kind of turning me on to that method. I'm really excited to give that a go because I've never done it before. So I've gotten through 3 of the 4, and now it's time to kind of cut out the 4th one. So let me show you the quilts. Get my stack over here. Okay. So all of these are somewhat original designs. I can't take full credit of it. Basically, my process for quilts, I've never purchased a quilt pattern before. I kind of just browse Pinterest for patterns that I really like and then deconstruct them visually and make them based on the amount of fabric that I have. So I'll show you pictures of each of these that were like the inspiration behind it. And then once I saw the picture, I measured the fabric that I bought for it. I kind of proportionally guesstimate what proportion I will need of certain fabrics. So if I like, there's probably, you know, 50% of this one fabric in the quilt, that I'll make sure that I have that proportion relative to the other fabrics that I buy for it. That's kind of confusing. I'm not sure if that's going to make a whole lot of sense, but it's just my process for buying for quilts. I'm never fussed about making them a particular size. I think unless I'm making it for like myself for a bed or somebody commissions me to make one for a certain size, I never worry about how big they are. I just make them as big as I can with the fabric that I have. Generally, I already know that a queen size, for example, takes about 5 yards of fabric for the single backing sheet. So I basically buy enough fabrics to equal 4.5 or 5 yards for all of the top amounts combined to kind of get close to a queen size for a quilt. Generally, when I make them, they turn out to be double like a double bed size or a full bed size, just because once you account for seam allowances and stuff like that, they, you know, get smaller. So that's kind of my process for how I figure out how much fabric to buy, but there are tons of quilt fabric calculators online. And oh, and if you didn't already know, I do have a 10-part tutorial series walking you through how to make your first quilt. It's the most beginner of beginner projects for an introduction to sewing. If you want to make quilts or have any interest in it whatsoever, believe me, you can. I have the 10-part tutorial series. Just watch it. It will dissect it, you know, bit by bit. You can totally do it. And I highly encourage you to make one if you haven't already, if you're even interested in it. They're just such a utilitarian, beautiful thing. I love the fact that I like use my quilts every day. I'm not precious about them at all. Like the first quilt I ever made, I made when I was like 8 years old, and it's the one that my family fights over when we're at my parents' house because everyone wants to use that quilt. They're just so loved. And my grandmother taught me how to sew, and when she was teaching me how to sew in single digits age, it was quilts kind of that I was learning on first. So it's just something that makes me feel really close to her and close to my family heritage. My aunt also makes gorgeous quilts, so it's just something that I really feel very passionately about, and yeah, I love them. They're heirloom pieces that you will keep and use forever. So I'm making quilts for family this year. I'm making one for my mom, my dad, my sister, and for Julie, who is not family but might as well be as much as I love her. And she already knows that, so I'm the worst at keeping good secrets. Like, I always want to tell people good secrets. So she already knows that she's getting it, and she already knows what it looks like, so it's fine. So I'll put in a picture here of the pattern that I decided on for her. And the pattern, basically I've named it with the fabrics that I purchased for it, is the Floral Cottage quilt. I tried to like have names for each of them because I think they're all kind of like works of art in a way, so I want them to all have a name. And so these are the pieces for it. They do not all look the same. I don't want to get them too out of order because they do go in a specific order, but you get the general idea. These are the fabrics. Blocks, and so there are, I think, 4 blocks per row, and then in between the rows are going to be strips of this natural linen, also as the border. So, sorry, kind of have to go slow here because I have a whole pile of partially sewn quilt tops. So these are all of the pieces for Julie's. I love it. The Floral Cottage. These fabrics are just so her. I obviously picked them out with her in mind, but if I had to pick one of the fabrics combinations that I like the most, it would probably be this one, because I can shop for myself and I'm shopping for her, but I know that she would love these. I picked these out with her in mind. Just love them. And then the binding on hers is going to be this plaid. It's a small check. The next one I'm dubbing the Mossy Marvel, and this one I'll put in a picture of as well because this is going to be one of the ones that I do quilt as you go. Both Julie's and my dad's are going to be quilt as you go, and I just can't take these apart to show you because they're in such a specific order, but I love the pattern on this one, and I think the quilting is going to be the most interesting for this one. The plan is to take the strips that are kind of on the diagonal and 1 inch apart do lines of quilting in the quilt as you go method. And quilt as you go basically just means that you cut out strips of the batting that are a little bit larger than the pieces you are quilting, and then kind of treat those as one piece together, do the quilting, and then piece together the whole top. And then the way that you kind of attach the backing side of it to keep it from, you know, pulling apart from the rest of it is to stitch in the ditch or something similar to that. So stitch in the ditch again. So it requires a lot more actual sewing and work, but it makes quilting a whole lot more manageable because you're working on smaller pieces than you are working with the whole big shebang on a machine. So excited to try Quilt As You Go. So this is going to be the one for my dad, and I just ordered some more border fabric for his. It's like kind of a world map theme. My dad loves traveling and traveled a lot in his youth especially, so it's kind of similar to this but not navy. His is like a more maps, tea stain, kind of brown with blue accents fabric. And then the next one, this one is going to be a quilting the whole shebang, and it's going to be a stitch in the ditch because it has, I think, 20 fabrics total in it. This is going to be for my sister. Another self-drafted pattern based on a photo that I saw, and it's a hexagon pattern. Oh, I love it! I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see. I'm trying to move it around so you can see more of it. You get the idea. I love this. It's definitely not my color palette, but it is so Laura. She is going to die. She's gonna love it. A hexagon style pattern, which was really simple. I just cut 10" by 4" rectangles, and then I measured in 2.5 inches. So if this is the rectangle for the dark blue, the navy square right here, or navy rectangle, I measured in 2.5 inches from either side to the top and then cut diagonals down to the corner to get the pieces for it, which are the half hexagons. And then when you lay them out, they're reversible. These pieces are reversible unless it's a directional print, then you have to pay attention to which side that you're kind of cutting on the diagonal. But other than that, then they're reversible. I love it. And then just lay it out as you go. You don't have to do this like mosaic effect. You could just do it with 2 colors if you wanted to and alternate them that way. I just really, really liked using all the different fabrics, and I know she is going to love it. I think my favorite fabric in this one, I love this orange one right here. Orange is definitely not a color I typically go for. It's supposed to be kind of like coral and navy scheme, but when I went to Joann, they didn't have like a ton of coral colors, so some of them are orange, some of them are more pink. She's gonna love these kind of fabrics like that. She likes things that kind of have like a Moroccan flavor to them, if you will. Prints like that. Oh, I just love this. I posted on Instagram all 4 of the fabric selections that I had and all of the patterns I was planning on sewing. This one was by far the Brooklyn Knitfolk followers' favorite. And I can totally understand why. Like, I love this pattern. I will definitely make a pattern like this again for myself in the future, but just with a more neutral palette. I have expressed this in the past, but it was a long time ago, so some of you may not know, but I've been dying to make a naturally dyed quilt. So I want to take like white fabrics and dye them with, you know, avocados and with blackberries and eucalyptus and I don't know, whatever I try, and just make a whole quilt out of naturally dyed fabrics. And I would love to do a pattern like this with it. I just think that would look so gorgeous. So yeah, and because they'd all be kind of like different solid colors, or I would love to do like really intricate quilting on it, but really modern, maybe more like a bunch of straight lines on it. So yeah, love it. So that is the Hex Appeal quilt. Thank you so much to You Know Who You Are for your name suggestion, or her husband's name suggestion, I should say. And then the border for that one is going to be this fabric right here. And then the binding is going to be this fabric right here. I ordered a lot of border and binding fabrics today on fabric.com, so those will be here soon so I can start finishing it up, as well as like 19 yards of batting. Whew, that was not a cheap purchase, let me tell you. And then, excuse me, last but certainly not least, the one I have not cut out yet, and it's my mom's quilt, and it's a undecided pattern, which I think is kind of why I've taken so long to cut it out. I had a flying geese pattern, I'll show you a picture here, that I really, really loved, but I've never done a pattern like that before, and with my time crunch, I'm not so sure that I should do something it's not difficult by any stretch, but it is more time consuming than doing something that's rectangle pieces and square pieces. Like sewing on the diagonal with triangles, like the hexagon quilt, takes a long time. So sewing this one right here, the hexagon one, took probably, I don't know, 3 days worth of quilting, like not 24 hours or anything, but took 3 days. And typically I can sew less intricate quilt tops in half a day. So like the one I'm doing for my dad, that one took half a day easily. And the one I did for Julie, sewing up that, half a day easily. So anything with lots of triangles though can take quite a bit of time. And flying geese blocks are composed of 2 triangles and a rectangle. So they take a long time to sew. And on my deadline, I'm not so sure that that's the smartest idea. So I've been looking at a few other patterns, which I'll kind of flash on the screen for you here. I'm definitely leaning toward one over the other. My mom is the only person that knows that all these people are getting quilts other than Julie. She's the only person in my family that knows that quilts are gonna be the Christmas present. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll just ask her what pattern she wants me to make, but then again, it's a Christmas present. I'm her daughter, I know her well enough. She's gonna love anything I pick out for her, so I would hope that maybe some element of it could be a surprise. But anyway, these are the fabrics. It's very Americana style. We've got this kind of floral vine print, a red polka dot. My mom loves red. We both love red. This kind of blue with a gray taupish background floral. And then this floral right here. I just love them all together. It's so her. It's so my mom. She'll love this. So I have a very Americana style palette for her and a couple patterns that I'm kind of tossing around in my head before I make the final selection. I'll probably pick that out and start getting to cutting on these this afternoon after I finish editing the podcast. And then finally, all quilts should have a signature. And I did not put this in my tutorial series, and I'm still regretting it, because you should always sign your quilts. And by signing, I mean like some sort of patch or embroidery that has like your name embroidered on it and the date or something like that. They're works of art, like I said, so I think they should be signed. My mom and sister and I have this inside joke about pink flamingos. You may remember if you watched my Vlogmas videos last year, for some reason there was a giant, like 3 stories, not an exaggeration, 3 stories tall pink flamingo in the backyard of somebody whose yard I could see from my bedroom window. It was so weird. I have no idea why it was there, but my mom and sister and I were like, I was giving them updates on the pink flamingo all the time, and it just turned into this inside joke now where we just send each other pink flamingo things all the time. And I found this amazing fabric. And so this is gonna be, I'm gonna do like a square on the back side of it that I embroider with their names, like to, you know, Mom, Love, Jaclyn, or, you know, something like that on all of their quilts. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this on Julie's because I don't think she'll get that really, but I will of course sign it in some way that is special to us. So I just think that's really funny. And those are the quilts. 4 of them. That's a lot. Oh, I'm so crazy, but I do think it's gonna get done. Like I said, 3 out of 4 of the tops are already sewn and just have to be quilted and bound. So other than that, you know, like they're trudging along, and I'm not even in December yet. So I have all of December to work on them too. And I just placed the fabric.com order for the batting and the, you know, backing and borders and all that. So we're good to go. The last sewing project I want to show you is something I'm wearing. And it is the skirt I sewed for Rhinebeck. So this is the Rosary skirt by Pauline E. Alice, E being the Y for like a Spanish and. So Pauline E. Alice. And this is it. It's amazing. I love the skirt so much. Let me see if I can step backwards. How much of this are you seeing? I don't know. I'm doing a terrible job of showing you this. But yeah, button down front. Whoop. Pockets on the back. This is the mini version. This is the mini version, but there's also a knee-length version as well. There are 3 different variations on styles of pockets, and I just loved sewing this so much because the pockets especially, if it had been a different style of pocket and I was like trying to purchase this in a ready-to-wear skirt, for example, certain pocket styles that are options for this very 70s inspired skirt would have kept me from buying it, like small details like that kept me from buying it and ready to wear. But the fact that I can make it myself and have all of this choice about the style of pocket on my skirt is just so empowering and really, really cool. So I got this fabric at the recommendation from my friend Grace, who lives in my neighborhood, and she's just like a wealth of knowledge, wizard dreams on Instagram. I've sung her praises many a time. She told me about where to get this corduroy, and I love it. Sewed the skirt in 2 days. It was such an enjoyable experience. A PDF pattern, which are not my favorite, but the versatility of being able to just like print it and go, obviously you can't beat that. So yeah, I love the skirt. Super flattering, A-line. I really don't know what else to say about it other than, yeah, it's great. Sewing buttonholes, really simple with my sewing machine, not scary at all. Belt loops, I just feel like this is one of the most, I could have bought this, there's no way it looks homemade type of objects that I own, and I wear it all the time. I love it so much. I will say that I would go down a size next time when I make it though. I did have to take it in quite a bit at the waist given my measurements. Even looking at the finished measurements, it was still bigger than that. And I went according to all of the seam allowances. So somebody did warn me too to cut a waistband higher than the size that I made, and that was an excellent suggestion because the waistband that was bigger than the size I cut fit it perfectly. So if you are planning on making the rosary skirt, do keep that in mind. I would cut your waistband a size bigger than the size of the skirt you were making because the waistband would have been too small if I cut it for the second one. So yeah, I love it. And then last but not least, before I get into life stuff, is acquisitions. Quick segment, nothing too crazy. I'm not going to go over every single thing that I've got recently just because I think that would take forever. But some of the highlights. Oysters and Pearls yarn. Holy moly. She has a new Targhee base. It's incredible. I'm so excited about this yarn. Non-superwash, naturally dyed. It's so soft. I just love Targhee yarn. For Brooklyn tweed lovers, you will love this yarn. It's so soft and velvety feeling. Targhee is just wonderful wool to work with. I love it. The reason I have this is because this is a new line that she has in her shop. The Targhee yarn, I forget what it's called though. Oh, sorry, she just talked about it on her Instagram too. I'm sorry, I'm terrible about it. But if you look at her Instagram, you'll see what the name of the line is called. She's just launched this new line of yarns. It's all Targhee. It has different weights. This is the worsted weight right here, but I know she has fingering weight as well. And she asked if I would design something to celebrate the launch of this new yarn. So of course I had to accept because I love her yarns. I've loved them from afar. I just think everything she does is so wonderful. I love the naturally dyed aspect of it. I love the Targhee, so I just cannot wait to get started on this project. I'm actually not sure. I have so many different ideas because the yarn is just kind of letting the yarn tell me what it wants to be because it has such a personality to it, if that makes sense, that I'm just kind of waiting for the yarn to tell me what it needs to be. I have a lot of inspiration for it, but I just kind of need to think on it a little bit. So that's that. Love that. The next thing I bought recently was a Joann's purchase. I have loved this colorway from afar for so long. I really just wanted it. The Bergère de France in the Imperium Beige colorway. I love this yarn, and I've seen socks knit up in it, and it's just gorgeous. So I bought some on Joann.com. Love it. I, of course, already showed you the O wool yarn. This is the O wash worsted in the oyster mushroom colorway that I'm using on my design, but I have other skeins of that. My sweater quantity purchase at Rhinebeck. I don't have to show you all of them, but there's 4. This is O wash fingering in the pearly muscle colorway. Obsessed with this. Isn't it so gorgeous? It's just, ugh, it's amazing. It's like a purple brown or purple gray. I seem to have a thing with these like purple gray colors as indicated by my Dusty Plum Sprites Fen shawl. But yeah, this will be a fingering weight sweater, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Natsumi pullover, which is a Brooklyn tweed design. Love this. Next up, my one rule when I went to Rhinebeck was that I was not going to get any single skeins of yarn. None. And I stuck to that rule like a champion. This is Dior by Primrose Yarn Company. It's a blush pink with black speckles in it. It's incredible. Singles base yarn. This will be a shawl at some point. Love this. Ugh, so gorgeous. Oh, love it. And then I got some more minis for my blanket. This is Stress Knits yarn, her favorite sock base, I think. No, smooth sock base. And it has 5 of her colorways: Sweet Disposition, I Smell Snow, Bell Jar, Solstice, and Rattle. Sorry, I'm showing the label, not the yarn. Stress Knits yarn, so glorious. I can't even begin to tell you. I know that one's I Smell Snow. Look at the pretties. So this will be going into my blanket, potentially making some scrappy socks out of it. And then last but not least, this skein of Foxhill Farm Cormo. And you guys know how much I love Cormo. I knit an entire sweater out of hand-spun Cormo. It's so velvety and soft. Look. Ugh. Gorgeous. I kind of wish I bought a sweater quantity of this. But all this is Aran weight though, and I can't remember, maybe they didn't have other weights. I don't know for sure, but this will be a hat, I'm sure, at some point. And I think, I'm looking in my yarn basket, I believe that is it. Alright, that's it for acquisitions that I'm going to show you. The last thing that I want to briefly talk about, I'm not going to drone on and on about it, is the reason why I've been away. So I'm just going to level with you guys for a second. I don't talk about personal things on this podcast very much. I don't really know why. I mean, I'm an open book. If you ask me something, I'm going to tell you the answer. I'm not secretive. I'm not, I'm like I said, I'm an open book. I don't really, hide anything about my life. It's just more, I guess, that this is not a podcast about my life. This is a podcast about the things that I'm making and things I think you guys will find inspiring and that you will, find interesting. So I tend to keep private stuff out of this. That's what Vlogmas is for, or vlogs, or sometimes Instagram, what have you. But the truth of the matter is that I am a single lady living alone in New York City, and I'm not a stranger to the perks of this. I can leave my stuff out whenever I want to. I don't have to think about making dinner for children or a partner or anything like that. There are definitely perks to it. But sometimes when you live alone, the things that you have to do alone all the time are so amplified by your aloneness. Things like buying and putting together furniture for this apartment that I live at by myself, not having help to do anything, not, it's just like, and of course, like all the things that go along with being, like not in a romantic relationship. Those things are wonderful and things that I want to have, but I'm also not willing to settle on something that is not going to work for me. But it can get to you. This just feels so weird to even be talking about in this space, because again, it's just not something that I really talk about to people beyond my inner circle friends. And even to my inner circle friends, I have a hard time talking to them about it because I don't want to like burden them with my problems. They have their own things to deal with. But it is something that affects me, and the options that people have to say are never anything that feels very good. Like hearing, "You're so young, you still have your whole life," not really helpful. Hearing, "Oh, but you're so wonderful, it's so shocking," not helpful. Hearing, there's never a good thing to say. I'm either it's going to happen when you least expect it, or you're not putting yourself out there enough. Like there's never an in-between or a good answer, which is why, I don't really talk about it to people, because I just don't want to be the focus of the conversation. And I'm happy. In general, I'm a happy, fulfilled person. I don't need somebody else to make my life better. But it does get to you sometimes when you really want the things that go along with that, like family and kids and, So I just say this because it's not the entire reason why I was gone from this podcast for so long. I mean, I was out of town for almost all of October. So anything that was extra in my life that was not sleeping, going to work, working out, and feeding myself, anything that was not that, it just had to go away. I actually didn't knit for maybe 2 weeks. I just couldn't even think about doing anything extra at the moment beyond the basics of getting myself through a tough time. So I don't really know exactly why I'm saying this again, because I just there's no good response that I really want to hear from anybody, and there's nothing that's gonna and I'm not, like I said, I'm not an unhappy person. I'm just, it can just be stressful at times when you have to take care of yourself all the time. That's all. So that's kind of what kept me away. Not, "Oh, I'm single and no one loves me." It's not like that at all. It's just that, I don't know, it is what it is. So that's it, really. This is really weird. I don't really know how to end this podcast now. It's awkward, but it's real life, so. Alright, well, I will see you guys at Vlogmas. Talk to you soon. Bye. Mwah.